but we're using it for a particular purpose to deregulate the stress to the vestibular organism of the semicircular canals in the cochlea in the inner ear. When they become adaptively stressed, we need to recalibrate them. So by the time we've got to the head, we've took away all of the noxious signals coming up to the head, to the central nervous system. Thank you. This one's perfect because it's got the pinner of the ear on. And as you look inside of the pinner of the ear, I know it's very white there, but this is the petrous portion of the temporal bone that's housed in those semicircular canals. All of these yellow parts, everything yellow on there is nerves, and most of those nerves come out of one place, except the optic nerves, which feed the eyes, but some of the other nerves, the trigeminal and the others, come out of there. And all of that is part of the trigeminal feed. It feeds right down to the jaw muscles, and the jaw is imperative for balance. It feeds all the teeth, so you can get toothache from pressure in there. It feeds into the vestibular. If there's torsions in there, you can get a build-up of wax, you can get hearing problems, balancing problems, Meniere's syndrome, all kinds of things come as a result if it's not working properly. So when we pull on the ear, we're pulling along this line of tension here, and can even affect the muscles of the eyes before we get to the eyes. So we're regulating all of that vestibular normal reflex behaviour. These muscles here are called the mass eaters. They're spelled M-A-S-S-E-T-R. And I remember them because it's a mass eater. It's your chewing muscle. Very, very powerful chewing muscle. And basically, this muscle and the temporalis muscle, because it sits on a bone called the temporal bone, so the temporalis, are involved in the jaw balance. And the balance of your jaw, thank you, the balance of your jaw and the balance of your sacroiliac joint work together in what we call a closed kinematic chain. So if I'm on a bike and I'm pedalling here, at the back, there's the cogs that I'm turning around, and the back wheel is all joined by a chain that's called a closed kinematic chain, right? And that operates on different mechanisms that also work in biology. And so the relationship of the jaw mechanism and the sacroiliac is a closed kinematic chain. So if we imbalance the pelvis, it imbalances the jaw. If we imbalance the jaw, it imbalances the pelvis. So you can see the interconnections of the body. Now, people go to dentists and get dental splints put in, and if the dentist doesn't work with the pelvis, it'll have some degree of work. People go to therapists and get the back put in, but if you don't put the jaw in, you're not getting the vestibular balance again. So again, you're working in parts, you're working in parts, you're working in parts. And I've seen a lot of this over the years. What system works the whole thing? How do you deregulate the nervous system? So over the years, I've worked with bones, muscles, ligaments, all kinds of different therapies, different kinds of approaches. And what I've realised now, and it's been all this time, is that if you can regulate the nervous system, the rest doesn't matter. The rest sorts itself out and saves you a lot of time, but actually nature takes over better than you do. So you as a therapist are clearing the blockages of nuisance information to allow the body to regulate itself the way it should, as opposed to thinking, I'm the man, I'll put this bone back in and then it'll work fine. Bones are simply floating in a facial band anyway, with nerves passing through them. So putting a bone back in position isn't a big deal. And that's basic bone setting, if you like. And in and of itself, it's way not enough. We've got to look at the nervous system. So all of the time I'm looking at the connections, the simplicity of the complexity. The body is very complex, but it's also very simple. And a man called Dr. George Goodhart back in the 60s, who developed a system called applied kinesiology, which combined Eastern therapies with Western therapies, which was the road that I was on, so it was perfect. I wanted a scientific basis for the teachings of Hatsumi. It's like there's the Western teachings about energy and this. It's like he's the Western part, adjusting joints or doing up to surgery. How did you put them together? And applied kinesiology showed us that connection. And he made a statement. He said the body is simply intricate and intricately simple. And whether that makes sense to you or not, it means that there's a simplicity to the complexity. So if you don't understand the simplicity, you work with the complexity. If you understand the simplicity, it deals with the complexity. And I'm showing you the simplicity of connections of these points that make the rest of the system work. Now, when you deregulate this system, your jaw starts to open better, your tongue gets a better myostatic position, your breathing can change from even nasal breathing to mouth breathing to nasal breathing can be helped with this and some of the other things that we're doing. But it's a really important muscle because of the connection of the kinematic chain between the jaw and the sacroiliac joint. So we're going to strip that out and also strip out this muscle called the temporalis, which we'll show you much more next week. The brain dehydrates when you're concentrating hard. Every 20 minutes it needs hydration. And you talk to people who go, they don't drink much water at all, or they drink loads of coffee, which cortisol level goes through the roof, and then they wonder why at the end of the day they're all wired up and it's time to go to bed. And they'll use the phones till 10 o'clock, and then some of them go and do their emails in bed. It's amazing that they don't want these cortisol levels to come down. And a lot of that is held in the head with these tensions.